welcome to the first of my brand new series, My Pet. Hello and welcome back to Bug Rounds. On this channel we like to discuss all things creepy crawly, so if that's something that interests you, please consider subscribing to the channel. So, what's the point of this series? Let me just explain it to you before we kick off this video. The idea is to show off a small video about each and every animal I keep here in, well, I guess it's the realm now, we've been here long enough, right? In the new realm. So this will cover anything from tarantulas to scorpions to cockroaches to isopods, praying mantis, true spiders, you name it, we'll probably have something to say about one of these animals. Well, more than one of these animals in some cases. But I do need to drop a quick disclaimer. You see, these videos I'm actually starting to record in bulk back in April time. And the BTS show, the British Tarantula Society exhibition show, is kind of nearish the end of May. Now, some of the animals that may feature in videos that come out after that time were actually recorded before that time, and I may no longer have that animal. And that's why it's really, really important for me to get this information out there and maybe even explain to you some of the reasons why some of these animals are actually going for sale. But certainly not all of them. And of course, where I sell some, I can buy some new ones. So how these videos are going to go is pretty simple. We're going to talk about the positives of each species that I talk about in my videos. We're going to talk about the negative, if there are any, of any animal featured in these videos. And then we are going to finalise the video with additional information. Now, in that additional information part will be more likely the place where I will talk about whether I plan on keeping this animal or whether it may go for sale at the BTS or private sale before or after the show too. So, with all that information out there, we're just going to kick this video straight off. Now, today's video, we're going to be talking about a very cool little cockroach, the Gyna Centurio. Now, my specific Gyna Centurio originally came from Gambia. That was where the original stocks came from. These are all captive bred and probably have been for years and years, but the original stock came from Gambia. Now, what are the positives of these animals? Well, I've got to be honest with you, the biggest positive that I can think of is the attractive coloration. These guys, as adults, have a cool reddish patch on the pronotum above the head. They also have sort of these auburny, bourbony, reddish brown colorations on the body mixed with a creamy ivory colour. Now, the reason I like these colorations so much is the fact that they are not so striking that they are in your face, but they're also not so subtle that you just don't care. They are that perfect balance of coloration to bring attractiveness. Is that even a word? Attractiveness? I don't know, I'm tired. In a cockroach species. Another thing I like about these guys is the nymphs are pretty quick, pretty shy, they run away a lot, but the adults, once you actually get them out, once you hold them or bring them out on a bit of bark, they do tend to settle after a short period of time, which is great for children to be able to observe them as well as adults alike. So if you want a species that you can get the adults out and observe them and just look at their beauty, this is a cracking species of cockroach. Before we continue this video, did you know that Bug Rounds is affiliated with the Spidershop? So when you next need a stunning new tarantula, some healthy live food, well-needed equipment, or just in the market for something unusual, please head over to the Spidershop via my personal and unique link in the description below. This won't cost you anything extra, but it gives me a little back in return for your loyalty. Thanks guys, now back to the video. So what are the negatives to keeping a roach species like this? Well, first of all, the nymph coloration, like in pretty much any cockroach and like in many invertebrates, they're just a dull colour. not too much of a negative, but you know, some things out there do have pretty nymphs, and these aren't one to do so. You can have them in the lighter tones, but you also get them in the darker tones, but they always stay that sort of browny orange coloration. Nothing fantastic or fun to look at. Another negative again is the speed of the nymphs. It's not a negative to me per se, but to some of you, especially new keepers in invertebrates, especially roaches, you might find them a little bit finicky. Now also they are very shy, as I said before. My specific culture, I rarely actually see them. They're soil dwelling. They like to stay burrowed under the soil, under the leaf litter, under the bits of bark. I rarely do see them come out. Now I'm not sure if that's because a majority of my culture are nymphs and I only actually have several adults that I don't see them often. Perhaps someone with a much larger colony will see them more actively. Comment me below if you have a decent sized colony of this species, and do you see yours very often? Now there is one more negative I need to talk about, and this was something that is solely my fault. So I keep mine in the very old school tarantula room enclosures, in the days where you actually press down and span locks into place. Now I left a corner unlocked just to make it for ease of feeding. You see, I have other tarantula room enclosures that are magnetic lids that I can lift up, pop in food item, close with ease. And I thought leaving a corner of this loose is not going to be an issue. Well, let me tell you what, it is an issue, because they did get out. Now unfortunately I don't know how many actually escaped from there. That corner was open for a couple of weeks, and because, as I said, you don't see them that often, I was unaware that there were less and less in there. The only reason I actually discovered that they escaped is because Danielle, over the course of a few days, said she'd spotted the odd cockroach here and there. But she doesn't know roaches that well, so she couldn't tell me which species she'd spotted, and they kind of creep her out, so she wouldn't have stopped to kind of try and capture it or have a closer look. It was something she caught in the corner of her eye, and I could never find them when I came home from work to look for them. But one day she did point one out by our front door and said, unfortunately there is a dead cockroach by there. And when I picked it up, it was an adult specimen of the Gyna Centurio. And when I decided to then check upon the rest of my culture, I only found one adult still left in there. Plenty of nymphs, so the culture can still continue on. But I lost all my adults but one, and I'm pretty sure it was all to escape. You see, often if a roach dies and the others feed on it, you still find wing cases or parts of the pronotum laying in your tank, and I saw none of that. So I'm pretty certain they got out, and they've probably all died by now because I haven't discovered them. Pretty sad times. So, words of wisdom: make sure you have a tight fitting lid and you keep that sealed. Do not leave it open when you go walkabouts. Silly mistake, and not one I will make again with any of the Gyna genus. So lastly, we'll finish up with any additional information for you. Well, speaking of the negative previously about them escaping, I guess I will have to chuck in the fact that they can climb. These are good climbers. I have seen an adult climb a tank before, but as I said, it was very rare that I ever saw them, so I was unaware of their escaping. So they can climb. Don't think they can fly, but they could probably glide at a guess. Again, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I've never actually witnessed that myself. And talking about whether I'm going to keep this culture or not, I am a little bit stuck. So comment me below if you think I should keep this culture or whether I should sell them at BTS. Now, the biggest reason I want to keep them is for the fact that I have discovered over the last year or two that if I mix cockroach species with isopod species, the isopods actually tend to boom. But Gyna are kept moderately dry, so they do have a bit of humidity in there. They do have some dampening of the substrate, but they are mostly fairly dry, being an African species. And aside from maybe certain Spanish isopods, I can't think of many that I keep that I would personally want to mix with the roaches. You see, I have to be 100% sure when I combine a roach species with an isopod species that I want to keep both of those animals, because separating those species in the future is difficult, very, very difficult. And my main focus over the next few years is actually going to be mostly on Asian isopods, which will have much higher humidity gradients needed within their enclosure, not particularly suitable for mixing with Gyna. But we could try some Spanish ones. There are a few Spanish ones out there that I've got to admit I plan on keeping. So who knows? Who knows? Again, comment me below and let me know. So that is it for today's video. Now you've got to bear in mind that without me talking about the disclaimer and yabbering on a little bit more about this series, it would have been a very short video. So a lot of these ones are going to be fairly short from here on forth. So what I may do, undecided yet, is pop out 2 videos a week until my full collection is discussed within this type of video. And then we'll go back to my 1 a week or 1 whenever I can. Who knows? I'm totally unsure right now. I'm very, very tired. It's 1 in the morning and this is the first recording I've done in, well, at least a month or 2. And I'm a little rusty, I'm a little tired, and I really don't know how well this is going to turn out. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Hopefully you'll see another video in a few days' time. If not, bear with me, it is coming. And a massive, massive thank you to those who have stayed supportive of the channel during my absence. See you on the next one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.